next part is number 13. Assizes of Darrain presentment are always to be taken before our justices of the bench, and are to be completed there. Darrain. In English law, the assize of Darrain presentment was an action brought to determine who was the last patron to appoint to a vacant church benefice, and who thus could next appoint when the plaintiff complained that there was deforced or unlawfully deprived of the right to appoint by the defendant. So this is dealing with religion again. So they again want it to be a local matter, not necessarily, one to be decided by the king. Next part is number 14. A freeman is not to be immersed for a small offense, save in accordance with the manner of the offense, and for a major offense according to its magnitude, saving his sufficiency, salvo continimento suo. And a merchant likewise, saving his merchandise, and any villain other than one of our own is to be immersed in the same way, saving this necessity, salvo nagio, should he fall into our mercy. And none of the aforesaid immersements is to be imposed, save by the oath of honesty and lawworthy men, of honest and lawworthy men of the neighborhood. Earls and barons are not to be immersed, saved by their peers, and only in accordance with the manner of their offense. So let's look that up. Immersement. CEMENDS. A fine. A financial penalty in English law. Common during the Middle Ages, imposed either by the court or by peers. So, an immersement. So, it's essentially saying a freeman cannot be fined for a small offense, save in accordance with the manner of the offense, and for a major offense, according to its magnitude, saving his sufficiency, and a merchant likewise. What is that? Salvo continimento suo. Salvo continimento. So again, this goes to traditional English law, essentially referencing their ability to pay. So they cannot be fined a larger amount than they're able to pay. Wenagil. I'm having to do a lot of lookups because, like I said, this is including a lot of Latin terms. Saving of necessity, should he fall into our mercy. So I think it's just mentioning how necessary they are to the community. So again, they want it within the community, any fines, anything like that. And earls and barons cannot be fined, save except by their own peers, and only in accordance with the manner of their offense. Next part is number 15. No town or freeman is to be distrained to make bridges or bankworks, save for those that ought to do so of ode and by right. So essentially, the king cannot keep towns and a free person from um, making bridges or bankworks. Next is number 16. No bank works of any sort are to be kept up save for those that were in defense in the time of King Henry II, our grandfather, and in the same places and on the same terms as was customary in his time. Bank works. What are bank works? Given a great responsibility to deliver monetary stability for the good of the people. From what I'm understanding of number 16, it's that there are no fees levied that are to continuously be levied unless it's in time of defense. That's all I can really make of that. Next is number 17. This one's a short one. No sheriff, constable, coroner, or any other of our bailiffs is to hold pleas of our crown. Basically, they don't want a kingship law group to hover over them. Number 18. If anyone holding a lay fee from us should die, and our sheriff or bailiff shows our letters patent containing our summons for a debt that the dead man owed us, our sheriff or bailiff is permitted to attach in a row all the goods and chattels of the dead man found in lay fee to the value of the said debt by view of all worthy men, so that nothing is to be moved thence until the debt that remains is paid to us, and the remainder is to be released to the executors to discharge the will of the dead man. And if nothing is owed to us from such a person, all of the chattels are to pass to the use of the dead man, saving the dead man's wife and children their reasonable portion. Okay, so essentially we're talking about if someone dies in debt, the sheriff or bailiff is permitted to bring and show all the goods and work of the dead man found, I guess, in his ownership, uh, to help pay off the cost of the debt, as long as it's in the view of a law-worthy man or law-worthy men, so that nothing is to be removed from these goods and works until the debt that remains is paid. And then the remainder of the dead person's goods and chattels are to be released to the executors who will discharge the will of the dead man if nothing else is owed. And then, of course, the dead man's wife and children are owed, again, a reasonable portion of what they had. So it's basically just telling the king, hands off, until everything is accounted for, paid for, inherited that should be inherited. Next is number 19. No constable or his bailiff is to take corn or other chattels from anyone who not themselves of a ville where the castle is built, unless the constable or his bailiff immediately offers money in payment of obtains a respite by the wish of the seller. If the person whose corn or chattels are taken is of such a ville, then the constable or his bailiff is to pay the purchased price within 40 days. So again, keep issues and the law within the same territories it's from. Pay the one who owns the works and the food, no matter if you are a noble or not. Next part is number 20. No constable is to distrain any knight or give money for castle guard if the knight is willing to do such guard in person or by proxy if any other honest man, should the knight be prevented from doing so by just cause. And if we take or send such a knight into the army, he is to be quit of castle guard in accordance with the length of time we have him in the army for the fee for which he has done service in the army. Let's verify another term here. Distrain. Seize someone's property to obtain payment. So, no constable is able to seize the property from any knight to give money for, but they are to give money to knights for castle guard if the knight is willing to do such guard duty in person. or by proxy, if any other honest man, should the knight be prevented from doing so. So someone to stand in place of the knight. But if the knight is requested into military service, into their army, he must be excused from guard duty. Next is number 21. No sheriff or bailiff of ours or of anyone else is to take anyone's horses or carts to make carriage unless he renders the payment customarily due, namely for a 2-horse cart 10 pence per day, and for a 3-horse cart 14 pence per day. No demesne cart belonging to any churchman or knight or any other lady is to be taken by our bailiffs, nor will we or our bailiffs or anyone else take someone else's timber for a castle or any other business, save by the will of he to whom the timber belongs. So this essentially just says no seizure. You have to pay for what you take. Number 22. We shall not hold the lands of those convicted of felony save for a year and a day, whereafter such land is to be restored to the lords of the fees. So, yeah, the land, if someone who owns the land, it cannot be taken for more than a year or a day, whereafter the land is to be restored. Number 24, all fish weirs kiddily on the Thames and on the Medway and throughout England are to be entirely dismantled, save on the sea coast. Fish weirs, fish weirs. It's an obstruction placed into tidal waters, or wholly or partially across a river, to direct the passage of or trap fish. Okay, so there's no longer allowed any fish traps in the Thames or Medway rivers. They're to be fully dismantled. But as always, educate thyself. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tries to tell you something you have difficulty in believing, ask them to cite their sources. But as always, I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, later.